sure. So,
Yeah.
well, man, it's so good to see your face.
Me too,
We
man. I
got to talk
know.
about it. Yeah, man. I mean, like, it was good catching up recently, and I got
Yeah.
to tell you, man, I am seeing and hearing a lot more smiling, optimistic conversations now than I've had in a year.
Yeah.
It's just, man, it's nice.
Yeah. It
It,
is.
there's a lot of good vibes in this industry right now. I mean, still a lot of tough roads ahead,
Yeah.
and guarantees, but it's always been a tough business. But at least it feels like, I mean, I guess you tell me, but it feels like we're sort of like rounding the corner, and there's some light somewhere. People are getting vaccinated. People are
Yeah.
pent up,
Yeah.
ready to go back out again, man.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the toughest thing I think for any entrepreneur is to have to abide by rules.
Mm.
And
Yes.
and we've been stricken with them, you know what I mean, with so on so many different levels. And and then the right thing to do is to abide by them, you know what I mean, for
Yeah.
for the betterment of our our hyper local humanity and beyond. So yeah, so to shook and jive and to be able to do those things and to see it through, and then to to come out on the other side and be able to be presented with some sort of normalcy and interaction. There's still the largest wall I think we still have, just as us as humans, are masks. And we understand the need for them, but it's funny, I was working Leroy Fox 2 yesterday in Southend, and and I was talking to tables, and or when they're getting up, making sure everything was okay, and when they're leaving. And I am just, I love to see people's faces, and
Yeah.
you really just don't get the same feel in conversation of people that you don't know, with masks on. It's difficult for me. I really find it difficult, to be able to connect with people in that fashion like I normally do, because I love, that's my favorite part of what we do. So that's tough still. So once that goes away, I really think we'll all feel a little bit better, but it seems to be necessary.
Hopefully sooner rather than later. I'm with you 100%. It's
Yeah.
My kids have been like, Latin's been on one day, off one day kind of stuff. So they've just gotten used to it.
Yeah.
I had it still. I mean, we went up we're on spring break, so we went up to the Biltmore.
Yeah.
For a couple days. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's the most I've had to wear one really.
Yeah.
The whole time, because I'm typically just around the house or whatever. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I struggle for that reason, because you shoot, I actually ran into when they started playing sports again, thank goodness, but I was sitting there 5 feet from a dude that I know pretty well, a dad.
Yeah.
Watching a practice or a game, and he was like,
Yeah.
Will, how are you? I'm like, I didn't know who it was.
Right.
Like it's
Right.
So.
And it ends up being, it's like an awkward exchange, you know what I mean? At least for me.
It is for me too. It is for me too.
Yeah. Conversations cut short a little bit because, again, you don't have the right feel back and forth. You never get into a groove in a conversation. You know what I mean? It's still, it's strange. And I feel like, even before this, we're becoming a little bit of a world of introverts, and, to attest to what you were saying. Exactly.
Yeah.
Where we've lost connection a little bit anyway. And the generations coming up, they don't mind this, forced intimacy, like, you know what I mean, like on their own, like it seems like it's kind of natural for them. And for the older generations, I think we're a little bit generationally handicapped from that. And and we are born on more interaction and true camaraderie. You know what I mean?
Well, I got to tell you, I agree that seems to be how things are working out. And
Yeah.
I agree that, I mean, I got 3 kids, you
Yeah.
know, 17, 14, and 11.
Yeah.
And they're that's what they do. Like, they don't talk on the phone, and they, you know, if they do, it's literally they're sending each other snaps or whatever,
Yeah.
Snapchats, and
Yep.
but there's not a lot of the, you know, the back and forth, and the back and forth is where the beauty of communication is to
Yeah.
me. It's easy to sit there on Twitter and throw out your frustrations, all that, you know, like there's this corner of the universe that lives on Twitter and everything's there, and then you got all these other tools, and then, but you know, to me it's like this big science experiment,
Yeah.
that, you know, they're, unfortunately, I think, you know, they're the they're the test case,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I know it sounds like, I mean, I know I'm an old, I mean, look, dude, I got, you know, like I
I
told you,
love it. I
freaking
love it.
family.
That's awesome.
So I get it. I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
but man, since humans have been here,
Yeah.
like however long we've been on this earth, you know, communication has been what has helped us excel and grow and brought us joy and happiness. And it's not this,
Yeah.
it's this. It's, you know, I mean, you and I are as close to being able to at least do it in person right now as possible. At least we're able to see and all that. But
Yeah.
so the, and I say this because what y'all do to me is such a critical, um, benefit to our society, and every cool town, big, small, large city, from New York to, you know, Florence, South Carolina, or whatever, like what makes them cool, when you start asking people, it's always comes back in the top 3 things that you'll mention are, they got these cool restaurants, this cool
Yeah.
restaurant scene, this cool, and all that's just based on like, yeah, the food's going to be good, but food's good everywhere now. It's like it's that interaction, it's that hospitality y'all provide. It's how you feel when you're there, and I just I can't wait to see not just the. I mean, I know you get to go in now, and the you can close that line. The patrons can take off their mask and all that, but your staff can't, and that's a
Right.
big part of that. Like in
Right.
that interaction, it's still, you can still provide a pretty good experience with a mask on. You can see people's smiles with their eyes sometimes, but it isn't the same. It
No,
isn't the
it's
same.
not.
Yeah, I feel like it's now more of a like, it's all about just you and the people at your table and the staff. It's almost, and I hate to say this, but I mean, it's almost like a robotic thing. It's like this,
That's right.
because you, so much
Absolutely.
comes
No,
here, you
for
know.
sure. There's a barrier. I mean,
Yeah,
there's a barrier. I mean, and I'm
big.
sure you guys have gone and eaten out. You know, we certainly have, and you know, it's just, yeah, it's not the same. It's you know, and I love to connect with a good server, and you know, or bartender, and you know, and have that same interaction, a table next to you. You know what I mean, or what have you. And it takes special people to be able to translate the personality with a mask on, and I have had those experiences, and I actually have been using this one guy as an example with my staffs, especially the management, since that experience. It was actually at Top Golf, and and I was there with some friends celebrating a birthday, and we had this guy that was, I mean, just exceptional. You know, absolutely exceptional. And it was just the night before that Alessandra, my wife, and I were at LF1 Cotswold location, and we worked that dinner shift. And she comes in and she'll take a lot of photographs, and she'll work. She kind of manages all of the delivery platforms. So she handles that for all of the stores, where with the swipe buys and the door dashes, and you know, and these are, you know, uncommunicative tablets that, so you know, it's really, it's a juggling act all the time to, you know, to do
Yeah.
everything online properly. So she's doing that. I was working the kitchen, and you know, in the expo line, and I don't, you know, and I get to the front of the house every now and then, but you know, in those shifts, not as much as I'd like. But at the end of the shift, I was talking to the assistant GM there, who worked that night, and you know, and I said, you know, listen, in this neighborhood more than any other, what you guys are missing is people coming to the door and asking for a certain server. We just don't get that enough. And we have, too many repeat customers not to get that, to where you have people that are really knocking people's socks off tableside, where they're coming in and asking, I want Will, Will's gotta, I'll wait. I'll wait if his section's full,
Yeah.
I'll wait a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
and I don't think there's enough of that overall. I mean, in a lot of places, of course, hypercritical about hours, but I really tried to drive that home. And then the next day we go to this, and then and there's this guy who's great. And while we're leaving, he said, "Hey, next time you guys are here, please ask for Joe."
Oh, yes.
You
Love it.
know,
Who does that now? Why don't? Yes, that's
And I
awesome.
stopped, and I actually gave him this whole soliloquy. What I just told you, I stopped and took the time and told him, you're fantastic, and we will, and and this is what it's all about, and thank you, and and I next time I'm gonna actually go back next time to try to hire him.
I was just about to say, go hire that guy, man.
Yes, totally.
Well, okay, that brings me to something I really wanted to ask you about, because going into this, it was already hard enough to find good people.
Yeah.
Now, there's people that may have worked in the restaurant industry before that were great, but maybe it wasn't what they wanted to. Whatever has happened, they've decided, you know what, forget all that. Like, too much risk, or we got whatever. I need something. So, what do you do? Like, I mean, is it harder? Is it harder than ever now to find good people, or have enough places closed that there's enough people that need jobs? That, like, what are you doing?
We haven't had issues finding servers, back of house help, cooks. We haven't had issues there. We've had issues that we're facing currently in hiring management. That's where there seems to be a huge gaping hole, and really tough to find right now. We are about to go through a transition at our busiest store, which is the South End Leroy Fox, and we're losing a guy that's been with us 10 plus years now, and a close friend of mine. So he's the GM of that store, and we've had a very unique, incredible situation there, with him being a friend for 20 plus years, and then also running, our best store. So he's moved to California, where he's from, and he's going to open a restaurant with his lifetime friend Chance, a friend of mine also. They have a really cool concept out there now in Newport Beach, and they're going to open one in San Clemente, same thing. And Danny's going to help him do that and be a partner in that. So it's great. I mean, he's evolving, and this is a great opportunity for him. I'm going to miss him incredibly on so many levels, but to have him, so we've had this process going since January, of kind of a full court press to find someone to replace him, because I'd love to have someone shadow him and learn from him, before he goes. And we've had zero luck. And the only thing we can, I guess that's suggested, is to go out and find someone and try to steal him, but we don't believe in that. Like, we know how hard it is. We know the only people that we would try to poach from would be our greatest competition that we respect, the good operations. And we know these guys that own these operations. So we're, it's the last thing in the world that we would do. So we're trying to stay outside of that, and find people. And even went as far as talking to a couple headhunter, agencies to see what they had. And, they really, this is a tough business for them too, so yeah, it's been really difficult on that level.
Can you expand the geographic search now, because are people more mobile now? Like, if there's somebody.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to have to approach that. I mean, we've done LinkedIn, we've attempted LinkedIn, we've attempted, Facebook job searches, and you know, uh, it's not a good vehicle at all.
What is it? What is it about your friend and your GM who's leaving? Like, what are the things that make him so special that you guys need to
Gosh.
try to replicate?
He's a natural. I mean, he's a natural communicator. He really is selfless. He puts his staff first. He cares so much about the growth of the business and the mechanism of it and the people that work for him. And he creates this incredible culture in the back of the house and the front of the house where they actually like one another. It's priceless. It's exactly, he is the same kind of person that Sean and I are, and emulates that just as we would, because and that's where it should come from. And we care so much about everybody that works for us, and know everybody's name, and are there all the time, and are there for support on so many different levels. And he translates that, and so does Aaron at Cowbell, and Nicole at Cotswold, and Michelle at Mortimer's. I mean, luckily, it really does permeate through. But this is a big job to the system, because Danny is kind of the patriarch to all of them, and has been here before all of them, and has trained all of them to some degree. So it's irreplaceable, really, and we have to lower our expectations, to fill those shoes. And it's going to take a lot more hands-on from us,
You
obviously.
probably need somebody with. I mean, I've got to think they've got to have a significant amount of industry experience.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, hey, look, tell him to get on the right plot. He's starting fresh out there. He needs to get on the right scheduling and communication platform with his new concept.
Already done.
All right, man. Well, that's interesting. That's a challenge. I mean, there's no
Big
doubt
time.
about it.
Big time. I mean, it is so incredibly important to be able to translate the culture, and to keep the culture, and to put yourself behind everybody else, and to let everybody have their day, and to understand the nuances from one personality to the next. And everybody can't be managed the same way, and it's an art form.
It's an art form.
It is.
Well, that selfless approach is so big that there's a book called Ego is the Enemy by a guy named Ryan Holiday. He writes a lot of stuff about Stoic philosophy, and
Yeah.
that's when you learn that, man. I think that's really key. It's like you find that all these folks that are really successful tend to, even amidst their success, they don't have an ego, and they do focus on others. But the thing about it is, like, success is just a byproduct of that. Like he's so valuable because he's not trying to be successful. He's not trying to be the center of the success. He's trying to make others successful, and with that, that just comes. It's
Exactly.
a rare quality. It's a rare quality, I think, particularly, Brandon. That's what I always wonder. Like, it seems to me like it would be so challenging to find people like you're like that and Sean's like that, because this is your baby. Like, to find people that want to treat your baby as if it's their own.
Yeah.
That understand that will lead to them probably having their own baby one day. Like that's
yeah. No, I think you're right. You're right, and you know it too. I mean, and I believe that you're the same way. I guess what makes it so valuable is that I do believe that it is inherent. I don't think that it's something that's teachable on that level. I think it's just ingrained, in who you are, who you were around when, in your formative years, who you looked up to, and, and those characteristics that kind of, fell into you, and that you held to such a high regard. And, to teach it is tough. It's great that there are books like this, and and people read them to try to emulate, and then some people read them to associate, you know what I mean? Because because they're there. And but yeah, it's to teach it and to curate it. It's got to be there. It's got to be there somewhere, and it right away. I mean, it in someone.
Yeah.
Whether it is or not, and what you're going to be dealing with going forward. To manage those things.
Well, the good thing is, it'll happen. Y'all will find the right person. You are very deliberate and know what you want and know what you need.
Yeah.
So that's good because, the flip side of this coin is, hiring fast and, hiring wrong, and then all the,
Yeah, we've done that. I mean, and we preach it all the time to our GMs, is hire for quality and not for convenience. And, and there's going to be pain in that.
Yeah.
And there's going to be extra work in that. But what comes on the other side, is worth it every single time. And we had to do some of that when we were building the new South End store, and had to, just kind of plug some people in without the proper vetting and training on all. It's our fault as well. We didn't have the time to spend with them and get them, kind of on that level of where we thought they needed to be. And also there was lots of egos to manage, and you find that a lot in the chef area. And we kind of didn't have a choice other than to let them kind of run with it. And man, that was a mistake. And we learned from that, and even more cautious than ever now.
Where is your South End location?
The corner of Kingston and Camden Road. It's on the rail trail. It's about 50 yards from the famous Price's Chicken Coop.
Done. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
I know right where you're at.
Yeah.
Ooh, I got to get down there.
You have to. Oh, it's gorgeous, man. I mean, it's such a beautiful store. I'll meet you down there anytime. You let me know, and I'd love for you to see it.
Yeah, it's such a neat area, man. I used to have an office over on Cleveland.
Oh yeah.
It's been almost 20 years, which is.
That's where Revolution is, the clothing store.
Yeah.
We're on the corner of Cleveland and East.
Yep.
Yeah.
We were literally right behind you. There's like a house, like a couple of houses down. Like if you turn left out of Revolution's front door, left on Cleveland.
Yeah.
A couple of houses down, there was a law firm. I used to have an office up there, and we used to run around that area. And there was that really good, what was that good burrito place that used to be down around there? It's not there.
Oh, Fat Burrito.
Fat Burrito.
Yeah, it was it's where Flower Child is now.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I hated to see that place go. That was awesome. But that whole place is just like, that whole part of town is just boom.
Unbelievable.
There.
It is a phenomenon, and it's not done.
No.
It's out of control. I mean, it's great, but it's I mean, it's unreal to watch.
So you're down there with your fried chicken right next to Price's fried chicken.
Next to Price's, yeah. We got a lot of flack for that coming in, but we knew we're such a different operation than them, and we haven't hurt them one bit. Their lines have not faltered at all.
I don't think anything could, man. That place is a special thing. Are they still like cash only?
Cash only. In even so far as to Bank of America. I don't know if you know this, but Bank of America paid for, or enjoined a billboard on I-77 that advertising that Price's Chicken Coop is cash only.
That's hilarious.
It was unbelievable. And of course there's a Bank of America ATM in there. You know what I mean? So they have a great little partnership there, but I thought that was hilarious.
Well, they're interesting because, for those of you listening or watching, Price's Chicken Coop's been in Charlotte for decades. I don't know. Since like all businesses took cash only whenever they started. But one of the things that I think is great about a business like that and there's many of them, is, and this is why I bring this up, but I'm sure y'all probably look at that some and you learn from them. And I do, because they know who they are. They know what they're good at. They
Yes.
don't try to be something they're not. They stick with what works, and they
Yeah.
keep things simple,
Oh,
like, and just
yeah.
execute day after day. Like,
Yeah.
their menus, not, I mean, there's something to be said for that. It's actually hard to do that. I mean, gosh, you think now, like, how could a business run on cash only? But there's some weird dynamic where that's like this, almost this tie to the past, so people kind of appreciate more. But do y'all look at that and just, I mean, like, I think about that a lot, because I always think about, we think about our business all the time, and like, it's easy to let things become like that were simple become not simple and get distracted and all over. But if you just go back to the basics of what makes us what we are, why did we start this, why are we here, why do we do what we do, it always goes back to real simple things.
Totally. No, it's venerable. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's amazing, but they have such an incredible fan base that is there every day, that supports the cash only, that if anybody thinks it's weird, then they're weird.
Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah.
You get looked at like you have three heads, like what you don't know this? Like what's the matter with you? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And in today's day and age, to do it, you can do it, but you just have to have a product that is sought after. And one, and two, have enough cash to toe the line,
Yeah.
to be able to do something like that, and kind of hold out until everybody gets it. But man, or you just open a place that only takes cryptocurrency. Now that would be interesting.
Now we're talking. I like that, man.
Yeah. See how you can get away with that tradable.
I've been stacking some sats, man. I don't know how to use them, but I got some.
I know, man. It's
Yeah.
wild.
It'll happen though. But that's interesting. Well, there's something to be said for not worrying about, we talk about this, man. Like, you want to build your business around what we would call the perfect customer. Like, y'all are the perfect, the type of people you and Sean and your team are, the type of places you're who we want to serve. We don't want to serve, some chain that has 500 locations and everything's just all processed. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, but they're not who we want to serve. We want to serve folks like y'all. So you build things around, like, what do places like this, or what does this customer want? And while you may turn off some audience, in today's world, this long tail where you can really build a true audience, of lots of people that want to keep coming back, and then you find ways to keep adding value to them, and you've got this like subculture, this tribe you build. And part of that's just with like drawing a line in the sand and saying, this is who we are, this is what we do. And those that don't like that's okay, because there's lots of other options. But I think y'all do a really good job with that. I mean, I think a cowbell, like, gosh, I mean, like, it's it makes a statement, and I love that. I mean, that to me is fantastic. So if I have like a guys night or something like that, like, coming to cowbell. Now, if we're going out with my family or whatever, where am I going to? I'm going to go to Leroy Fox, because anyway.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, you have to. I mean, I think when that stops, things start to get watered down a little bit, and and you lose the core, the validity of what you always have. You know what I mean? Now, I mean, there's like you said, the big chains. I mean, they've figured out a pretty good mousetrap too, and there are some that still kind of keep the connection there. But it definitely gets more difficult, and we try to figure that out all the time. I mean, we're still growing, and we always want to keep the the real a fundamental core of what we do, alive in all of the things that we do. And so far we managed to, a decade in, and still there's more hills we have to climb for sure.
Well, you're good at what you do, and I brought this up to y'all before, but I remember Sean telling me years ago. I think it was before y'all opened Leroy Fox 2,
Yeah.
and he said something. I mean, I may have this exact quote, but it was basically, now we're going to find out if we're lucky or if we're good, because
Yeah.
you were now you had 3 different concepts, like, so they had all done well, but now, like, okay, can we take it and replicate it?
Yes.
And there's always hurdles along the way, but y'all figured it out. So I think you're pretty good at what you do, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm gonna let you go, but I definitely will. I do want to get down there sooner rather than later, and I'll let you know when I'm coming.
Please.
I love Leroy Fox. I've been to the Cotswold many times, and we've got some high risk folks in my household, so we've been pretty darn tight last year, and we're getting some vaccinations going in here, and we're
nice. Have you done that yet? Have you had yours?
No, Lawrence had the first round. She's got the next one coming up, but it sounds like it's getting a little bit easier to just, like, I got a buddy who was just in Walgreens or something a week ago, and they had extras, and they just gave he didn't fit but they were like, well, you can have one. So how about you? You done that yet?
I haven't. Sean and Shelly just did it the other day. He called me. I was busy. I couldn't meet him there, but he heard that there's this way to there were extra shots at Bojangles Coliseum, and if you show up there around 4:15 ish, that you just kind of get up in the drive line and say, hey, I don't have an appointment, but I heard there were extra shots. And they have them. They have extra shots at the end of the day usually. So he and Shelly got their first round of the Pfizer shot, and then once you have that and you go back in the system to queue up your appointment, it's much easier, and you get a second appointment right away. It's just harder on the first round right now, especially. I think everybody's dried up on appointments. So I thought that was funny. I
think it's great. I mean, because they have to toss them anyway, right? So they need to use them. So there's, that's a good strategy if you're. I like it.
Yeah, we're working on it here. We're, and we're just, we're not like crazy to go get it, but we know eventually that we need to. So yeah, we're just making sure that the population doesn't turn into zombies or anything first.
Yes, that's that Will Smith movie. My son watched that recently. They had cancer treatment, and he was like the only dude left in Manhattan.
I Am Legend. Yes, great film. The worst part of that, come full circle to this is his dog. It's one of the toughest scenes to watch in any movie, I think. I mean, you cringe through that entire thing. Terrible, but great.
Something about them dogs. I am with you 100%, man. It was harder to watch that dog than watch him pass.
No offense, Will.
No, yeah. All right, man. Well, Brandon, good to see you. Tell Sean, hey, I do want to catch up with him, because I really, man, maybe this summer, I'd love to get y'all out here, get his band out here, and just roll time sometime.
Yeah. Remember our album series band is playing at Sugar Creek April 30th.
April 30th. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you got to come see them. We may be able to do a pop-up show uptown there. They just did this art installation with all these mushrooms at Imaginon. So, we're trying to get maybe a little pop-up show that we can do there to promote, since Allman Brothers were all about, the mushrooms in there.
I'm going to say, promote some psychedelics.
Yeah.
Cool,
so,
man.
Yeah. Come check that out if you can.
All right. It's so good to see you. So good to see
you. You too, man. Thanks, Will.
All right. We'll see you, Brad.
Okay. Take care. Have a good weekend.
You too. See you.
Bye.